This episode of the Critical Careers Podcast is sponsored by CBRE. Hi, I'm Joyce Wady. Welcome to the Critical Careers Podcast. Today I'm talking with Libby Milne, Senior Project Manager at Buro Four. We're talking about creating community in the data center industry, why that's so important, what the Forum for Women in Data Centers is doing to help build community, and we're also sharing some personal moments from each of us about our own networks and things that have really made a difference in helping build our own community. We hope you enjoy the show. Well, Libby, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. No, buzz to be here. Excited. I'm genuinely so grateful to be asked, to be honest.
Oh, no, absolutely. Absolutely. So the reason that I had wanted to chat with you today as part of our podcast series was one of the things that I heard throughout the conversations with the women as I was interviewing all the women for the Critical Careers book was about this incredible sense of community that they feel within the industry, that they feel supported, that they feel like they have, easy colleagues to network with, that they really believe there is a true sense of community in the industry. And, they kind of expressed it in different ways. They talked about it in terms of, if they're unsure of something, feel like they have someone to reach out to talk to. They talked about it in terms of, just feeling supported by their male colleagues. It really kind of showed up in a bunch of different themes and stuff. And so I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit with you today because, you are involved with the Forum for Women in Data Centers, and you guys are very actively creating community in the industry. And so I was hoping we could just have a little bit of chat about that and everything else. So
dive into it. No, let's go for it.
So from your perspective, what to you is unique about the culture in digital infrastructure that has enabled all the women to kind of feel so comfortable and feel like they've kind of found a place for them for their careers?
I think it is sort of everyone coming together. There is no, I'm not going to tell you that, I'm not going to get you involved. No secrecy in a way of, this is my industry, you can't come in here. Close the door. It's quite an open door policy of everyone's talking quite positively about it, but talking cross companies. And there are quite a lot of collaborations that I'm seeing where when I was in more general construction, it was more this company's doing this and showboating it.
Yeah.
But what I'm seeing is, we'll do a collaboration with this company from this side of the industry and that side of the industry. So there's a lot more crossing over, which is really nice. So I think people who might not have met someone previously, they're now crossing paths more. So a supplier is now coming into contact with consultants, and then they're doing bits together, which is bringing the wider industry closer together.
Well, and it's interesting because someone had said to me, and I absolutely love this phrase, that at this point in time right now, this is an industry of abundance. And because of that, everybody's willing to be a little bit more willing to share and willing to be more collaborative and stuff in those areas. And I think it's really true.
I think sort of maybe backed into a corner to be, because there is just so much every day almost you see new project, bigger, better, bolder, new technology, new sort of, not discoveries, but new innovations. And we have to keep up. You haven't got time to be
right.
to sort of be, oh no, I'm not going to involve you in that. You just shout about it, get involved, run with it.
Yeah. So how have you, from your perspective, I mean, because, you're early-ish in your career still. And I know when we had talked for the book that you had, you like many of us, kind of stumbled into the industry.
Yeah.
You didn't quite know what you wanted to do. You had a few stops and starts for other things that you were trying from a work or education perspective. And then you came to Buro Four, and you've kind of found your niche, you found the industry. What have you encountered from other women in the industry that has really kind of caught your attention or impressed you or made you feel supported?
I think it's recommendation. So how I got involved with Forum for Women in Data Centers is someone actually said, Libby might be a good fit for that. Why don't you get in touch with her? And since doing that, I've picked that up a lot more. Everyone's doing it, which is so nice. They're saying, you're talking to someone about something in particular, and they'll be like, Jennifer knows something about that.
Yeah, right.
Lizzie knows something about that. Joyce knows something about that.
Right.
Why don't you talk to her? And it's actually quite refreshing.
Yeah.
Of not being, that's what I was saying earlier. It's just everyone this little spider web everywhere.
That's a
And
good way to phrase it,
yeah,
it
it's
is a
just someone in the spider web over here might not necessarily ever come into contact with someone down here,
yeah.
but that person might have met that one and you're jumping.
Yeah.
So it's been really helpful and really nice because I've been able to open up my network and learn through that.
Yeah.
So someone I might not have come across typically, I've now had a chance to sit down with, ask a few questions, get a wider picture for myself and go from there.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned for women in data centers. Why don't you tell us about that organization?
So it came about in May 2024, and it was, so Barbara Sasha from Cundall was sort of talking to a few people, sort of saying, I don't really feel there's a space for women in our industry to sort of come together and have that space that they're comfortable, confident, open in. And she got about 8, 10 of us around a table. And then we're all sort of thinking the same thing. What could we do? Where could this start? And we just started with initial networking drinks, about 40 of us, spread a bit more.
Yeah.
And it lined up perfectly with Data Congress in France. So
Yeah.
then the next one was a bit of a coffee morning there. And again, it just strengthened the desire from a lot of women in the industry to have that space.
Yeah.
And from there, we've grown it to be quite a few more events, changed the dynamics. So we've done a mentoring event as
Oh,
well.
good. Okay.
And that was so amazing. It was, and we're going to try and implement a sort of ongoing one. And people have messaged saying, I haven't quite yet got some senior females in the company. Is there someone you can connect my junior females with? Which
Yeah.
is so nice to see that they're conscious of it.
Yeah.
They want to keep that talent. So they're doing something in the meantime until they become the seniors.
Yeah,
Which
absolutely.
is so lovely. At these events, you're just meeting so many people and you're talking, and I've then been able to, and I think quite a few other people have been able to experience this as well, which is what I'm really proud of, is you go into the other industry events.
Yeah.
And whereas I might not before have gone up to other females at that event because I didn't know them. I didn't know if I
Right.
had that connection with them. And I'll spot them across the crowd and I make a beeline for them.
Yes.
Like, hey, how you
Yes.
doing? Let's catch up. Because you do gravitate towards people that you know, people that you're familiar with, or people that you're introduced to
Yeah.
by your connections at these events. So,
Well, and it's funny because just listening to you talk about that, I kind of flash back to being, like earlier in my career. And, I've been in tech marketing my whole life, and well, not my whole life, but my whole career life. But just really thinking about all those times that I walked into a room and was by far one of, maybe 10% of the women that were in the room. And it was a little bit of, hesitation. And I'm always the kind of person anyways, that as long as I know one person in the room, then I'm fine. I hate walking into a room cold, but as long as I know one other person there, then I'm like, okay, this is cool. I've got at least someone to talk to.
yeah, exactly.
But and it's so like now to have these events where they are predominantly women, it was like it does feel very different. And it's not because I don't think you guys are necessarily doing anything different, if that makes sense, but you're setting up a space where you get to be part of the majority, as opposed to being part of
Yeah.
the minority. And that's that's a very different feeling. And it's actually really exciting. I think I hounded you about
Yeah.
the coffee, and back in March at Data Center World. And, it was kind of jokingly, but I was like, oh, well, I want to be a part of that, and getting to, go to the event in Cannes. And I think you guys did a pub quiz that was super fun. And that was great because there were, men that had come to that too, who were, they were excited to kind of network and meet with a different group of people in the, in the industry and everything
Yeah.
as well. So
I think what it does for the males that attend is they then sort of go away with this awareness of what it felt like to be that 10%.
yeah,
Because it's the dynamic of conversation sort of changes, the topics that you talk about change,
right.
and how you feel in yourself changes when you're the minority gender
Yeah.
in that space. So I've tried to bring my colleagues along to those events as well.
Yeah.
And we sort of chat about it afterwards. And
Sure.
how did that feel for you? And they're like, that was strange. And I'm like, yeah, let's go on. Like, why was that strange? It was just, I felt I had to hold myself a bit differently. And it was, but I think as they come to more events, they
Yeah.
feel a lot more relaxed because it isn't, we're not aliens here.
No, no,
We're not
exactly.
communicating a different language, but maybe some topics you won't bring up
Yeah.
at the Forwards events.
Yeah.
And maybe you will talk about other things. But then when you go to a different industry event, you might be like, okay, I won't talk about that other topic because my female colleagues or connections are here with me. So I'll talk about some things that they can be involved in the conversation on, or that I know they have a bit of a passion about and they might want to raise, but don't know if they could. Or
Yeah.
so you raise it for them. It's
Yeah.
just those little bits that
It's
they
just
have. It
building awareness.
starts at our events and other spaces. I'm not saying that we're the cause for it all, but my connections, it's, oh, okay, I felt this here. I've got a bit of awareness for
Yeah.
it. Let me implement something at another event to make my female connections and colleagues feel more comfortable and give them a bit of a voice or help with their
Sure.
voice.
Well, and I think that's interesting because, like, even like you said, what started out as networking events has then turned into like a mentoring program
Yeah.
because I'm sure it's conversations that people were having and expressing a need for it. I mean, I think even in what we've been doing with critical careers, it's been a little bit of the same thing. It's like, it was kind of like, okay, we're going to do a book. And then we're like, well, there's actually so much more to talk about and there's so much more to share. And that's why we're here today. And,
I love it.
we're
I'm
going
so
to.
excited to listen to them all. I'm traveling quite a lot for work, so I'm on the podcast at the
There you
moment. I'm
go.
going to
There
be a
you
top
go.
subscriber.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, and I think you also bring up a good point too about the types of topics of what people are willing to talk about. Because I mean, in one of the conversations I had for the book, someone was saying how she used to feel uncomfortable, like talking about her kids or raising, like, or bringing that up in a work environment. And she said, now it's actually everybody is more willing to have those conversations. It's not just women, and people are centering their family into their professional lives in a different way than they may not have done 10, 15 years ago. And so, like, those conversations are changing naturally anyways, and those are things that, anyone who's a parent can understand regardless if you're male or female,
Yeah.
So, and it's interesting that you've seen that kind of evolve in the events and stuff that you've held.
Exactly. And there were some conversations that, males might have waited to have with the female. Again, you find people, when you're a female in the male dominated industry, you find that men tend to talk to you about their families more or their kids or
Yeah.
babies, thinking, oh, you're a woman, you must be maternal. I'm like,
See, I always like to throw all my football knowledge in,
Yeah,
and it always throws in that I actually can tell them what's happening in the
Yeah.
Premier League and what's going on.
But it's so weird. It's like, well, why don't you talk to Jim Bob over there, who
Yeah.
does have kids, who's been through the same experiences as you? That's a
Yeah.
perfect topic for you to relate on. So maybe I'll talk to you about something else
Right.
that I'm interested in, that we have a shared common
Right.
thing. Don't just assume that
It has to be a
it has to
child
be about
related.
families and
Absolutely.
kids. But it has been changing, like you're
Yes.
saying. They're talking to each other about it. They're bonding over that, and then I'll talk to people about dogs.
I would happily talk about dogs.
Exactly, all day.
So, why do you think is there, or maybe I should phrase it this way. Is there anything that you think about building a supportive community? Is it something that's particular to women, or do you think we're just kind of more naturally enabling that? Is there something along those lines that we're, that, like, I think to me it feels like an exciting moment where this idea of building community is kind of taking hold on many different levels, whether it's through, like, young people in the industry, or through women, or through other groups. Um, but I mean, is there something that you're maybe seeing or hearing from people as to, like, what women are really getting out of having these communities together?
They're experiencing more and they're growing more is what I'm sort of generally hearing. I can only talk for the people I've sort of been
Sure,
connected to
absolutely,
and
yeah.
heard about, so it might be different the other end of things, but I'm seeing and hearing so much more about they're trying things earlier on in their career that they thought
Oh,
was
okay.
meant for much later.
Okay.
And a lot of that is to do with networking. So that's not just Forum for Women data centers. Gen Plus One is a massive part of that as well.
Sure.
So they're going to these events, the Gen Plus One events, and we're like, oh, I'd never be going to this event for another 10 years. It's
Yeah.
like, no, you should. Go along. It's exactly meant for you. So
Yeah.
be there. And you are seeing younger people at these events now, which is so amazing because it was maybe just a little bit stale.
Yeah, no,
with the
absolutely.
people that are attending. You need some fresh blood in there.
Well, I mean,
And
we always I joke with people all the time that it's a really small industry.
Yeah.
Like, you do, like, either work with people in different facets, or, like, a relationship that you had, with someone at 2 companies ago, all of a sudden becomes very relevant again in your current
Yeah.
company, and that kind of stuff. So it is a very small world. So it's great to see that world expanding.
Yeah, so I think the opportunities are coming earlier than they expected it to be, but actually it sort of makes sense, and maybe it should start earlier, in my
Yeah.
opinion. And I think that's been a nice place for them to voice that to them, and people are connecting, saying, "Are you going to that event? Oh, me too. Maybe we can arrive together." And making that connection for them just builds that bit of confidence, and it gets them there. And just being there is the biggest thing.
Well, and I think that is a big deal, like, just to know that you've got someone that you can either walk in with, or have that, or just that. Because I do think it makes a difference and makes it easier to walk into a new environment or walk into a situation that you might not have been included in but previously, but to know that you have someone there, with you to help do that is
Yeah.
definitely makes a difference.
No, it really does. I
Yeah.
hate going to something you're a bit nervous about. It's made 10 times more terrifying turning up alone.
Yes, absolutely. Is there any advice that you would give to, like, if someone is looking to kind of expand their networking opportunity or to kind of create a little bit of a support community for themselves, like within the industry? Is there any ideas that you have?
Yeah, I would sort of the overlying tagline, I guess, is be vocal.
Oh,
But
okay.
within that, be vocal within your colleagues, what you'd like to achieve and what you'd like to do, because they might have suggestions for you that they might thought you wouldn't have been interested in. That's how I've come across a lot of things. My colleagues have said, "I'm going to this event, would you like to come?"
Yeah.
And that meant so much to me, because I started the industry with no knowledge of it at all, just started working on my projects. And then the next stage was going to the events and
Yeah.
networking with those people. So they were like, "Would you like to come along?" Yes, get me there. But also, if it doesn't come from your colleagues, reach out to people that you have come across on your projects that you've been working with. Can we go for a coffee?
Yeah.
Are you going to this event? Can I come with you? Like we said earlier, turn up together. Do you have any suggested sort of training courses or CPDs that I can go on to build my knowledge? And just bits like that. I'd just be vocal about what you want to achieve, because so many people are willing to help you,
Yeah.
that they will have those suggestions that you're not aware of. The
Yeah.
biggest thing is you don't know what you don't know.
That is
And
so
that's what
true.
everyone else in the industry can help you with. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, if you have a gap here, maybe fill it with this. Talk to this person, go onto this website. And
Yeah.
it's little bits like that which everyone is so willing to help.
And they are the little thing, because yeah, like you said, like, you don't know what you don't know, and
Yeah.
so those are such little. They seem individually like such little things, but either if you hear the same thing for several different people, then it's something you really should explore, or it might, someone might give you a suggestion that you had never thought of before, and it can spark a whole new, just either set of interest or skills that you develop or people that you meet. I mean, there's
Yeah.
so many different ways to do that.
And even a sense check sometimes, I send my manager, "Oh, I'm thinking about doing this course, but this one also feels like it's offering the same thing. Which one's best?" And they'll say, "Oh, for your career development, try this path because XYZ." So
Yeah.
that's really helpful. Just run things by people. If you're thinking of doing something, you may understand something differently than what you had before,
Yeah.
which that might be a waste of time. But that's definitely worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's gonna.
just the overriding one, be vocal,
I
talk
love
to
it.
people about things, just make sure you're on the right track so you don't end up wasting your time going down a path that's not in line with your overall projection or what you want or where you want to be.
Well, and and it's funny because now that I mean, first of all, I love the be vocal because I'm, because I feel like I embrace that as every year goes on, I embrace that more and more. But even when I think about some of the conversations that I had for the, all the women in the book, that was a theme that I heard a couple of different times was about, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Everybody in the industry seems to really appreciate the inquisitiveness and the curiosity. No one seems to view it as a oh, well, you don't know that, it's really no, like, oh yeah, I'm happy to share my knowledge with you, I'm happy to share my
Floods
information.
you with information that you maybe start to regret asking. Oh, God.
Yeah, yeah. No, and I was thinking too, I mean, even from the one of the forward events, someone I met, she reached out and via LinkedIn,
Yeah.
just this week and said, "Hey, I would love to, I'm trying to expand my network. I would love to meet up with you for a coffee if you'd be willing to share some time." And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely."
Love coffee, love talking.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Well, because let's be honest. I mean, everybody loves to talk about themselves a little bit,
Yeah,
So
yeah. The ego does need a little watering every
exactly,
now and then.
exactly. Needs a little massage here and there to make you feel better about it.
Yeah,
So,
I still get a bit shocked when people ask me things like, "Oh, have you got a recommendation?" "Oh, someone said I should talk to you." And I'm, "Oh, me?" Don't know why, but yeah, of course. I'm so happy and so honoured to be able to do that for people. So I do get a bit speechless sometimes with my position of people coming to me for recommendations or advice or just sort of how to get involved. And yeah, like I said earlier, I will flood you. Anything and everything. Come to this, I'll meet you there. Just
Yeah, and there are so many different opportunities. I mean, that is another good part. If you're willing to take advantage of them, whether it is a course or it is a networking drinks or it is a Gen+1 run or, I mean, I will maybe run from a bear and that's about it. But,
yeah.
I love the fact that there are people who are, the fitness part of it is such a much better way or a more comfortable way for them to network. That's phenomenal,
Yeah.
So I'm totally in favor of
No,
that.
that's such a
So
good point. And that's actually one of the things is I'm not a runner either. Yeah, like you say, emergencies only. But a few of us started talking. It's I'd love to do that, but again, not into the running. So we'll go and we'll walk. So we're
yeah,
doing that now, and
sure.
Gen+1 have facilitated that, which is just amazing. And it's that okay, you're not into the running. What can we do to change it?
Yeah,
And it's just that it was such an easy altercation. They're like, yeah, boom, done, and we're there. So keep signing up to the run club.
because I think even if you are like, there's a particular interest that you have, there's a really good chance you're going to find someone else who has that same interest too. So like if you're like into crochet, or knitting or something, I am sure you could create a knitting club within
Oh
the
god,
data center
yeah.
industry as well, and you would
Post
find other
COVID,
people.
that population has rocketed, isn't it?
Exactly, exactly. But it just goes to show that if you kind of put yourself out there a little bit
Mm,
and you think about, okay, well, what interests me and see if there's anybody else who shares those interests, it becomes a much more natural way to build those connections and
yeah.
stuff.
No, it
So,
really does. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So what would you tell newcomers who come into the industry? Like what direction would you point them in if they're, 3 months into the job?
Yeah, I think the Gen+1 and Form 1 and data centers are really good networks and places to start when you're new to the industry because it is that sort of wider community that will suggest different events for you.
Yeah.
I think they're a bit more general, which is good. And then there are other events which might be more tailored,
Mhm.
but then you might meet someone there that is, oh, okay, you're doing that with your career. That's your role. Maybe come to this with me.
Right.
So I think they're really good starting places. But, there's some obviously very influential people in the industry who just spam your LinkedIn with loads of information. Obviously, sort of like Andy Davis and the Inside
Sure,
podcast is
sure.
one, and the newsletter. That's just such a hub of information. You can keep up to date with things, which is really nice. And I'm just such a fangirl of people. Like I follow Catriona Shears from
Yeah.
JLL, post loads of things as well. Nancy Lamb, they just share so much information. So if you can start seeing people that sort of post
Yeah.
bits, you follow them and then you'll see more. And then you might be like, oh, that person's posting something that I relate to more in my role, might message them.
Yeah.
And it's just build that. LinkedIn is such a great place for that. And everyone is sharing so much information because we're all on this roller coaster together.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think that's interesting too because there's not a lot of gatekeeping of information. And I think that was one of the things I heard, from the women in the book is the number of times that they had been in other industries. And yes, like women tend to be accustomed to dealing with the patriarchal roadblocks that are in the way. But then we're always a little surprised when other women weren't willing to share and help them climb the ladder too. And I mean, people, it's been a pretty universal sentiment that everybody feels like the senior women in the industry are just as willing to, offer a helping hand or point someone in the right direction as, the younger women in the industry who are networking together and kind of discovering some of the stuff themselves. There's also very senior women in the industry who are willing to offer that helping hand as well.
Yeah. No, massively. Even with my own company, some of the senior women do just check in, even though we're not on the same projects and we might not cross paths very often. I do get that check in from them if I bump into them in the office. They're like, oh, I've seen you do this, seen you do that.
Yeah.
Anything you need, let me know. And it makes such a big difference because you don't always, with the industry, we're all over the place. So I am anyway. Maybe that's just me. I'm a mess. But, you have one project this side of London, you have one project that side of London, and then other people are flying around Europe doing their projects or around the world. And you don't necessarily cross paths with your colleagues like you would if you were working for a London-based company and your projects are based in London, you do have more of a central hub.
Yeah.
And I'm not experiencing that as much at the moment because some projects are demanding. Some projects you do have to be there. I think a lot of people do face that. But what you do need to sort of centralize yourself in and to have that check-in with your colleagues to, I do have backup.
Yeah.
I do have someone behind me being like rearing me on, like, you got this. But sometimes it's nice to have that reminder.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, a friend of mine had just shared in like our group chat about you found out that like I don't know, a manager is like 2 levels above her
Yeah.
actually complimented her to her manager in an environment where she wasn't in. And, she's a seasoned pro, like she's a lawyer and she's, like she knows what she's doing in her industry. And even that still made her feel really good that she's like, I
Yeah.
had no idea that he was paying attention, and it still made her feel
I
really
love
good. So
group chats. Love them. I love them. We I'm part of a few bits. We've got your work one, you've got an industry one, I've got the forward one, and it's just, you'll get someone posting it, be like, oh my God, great job on that. Just seen
yeah.
that about you. Like, you don't have to do that. That's really
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
But I think people are doing that because they want to, and
Yeah.
they might have seen what you posted or said or did and genuinely thought in the moment, like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
And people remembering to pass the wow on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just such a
It's a
great reminder that what you're doing is helping others or is interesting others, and carry on.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
keep
it's a
doing it.
different format of pay it forward,
Yeah.
It's just like, say, be vocal.
Yeah, exactly. Just, I think sometimes, and I do find this, I think this is a bit of a British thing. We don't like compliments. I've heard this when you talk to people from different countries. They're like, oh, you British people cannot take compliments for the life of you. I was like, do you know what? I hate them. I get so uncomfortable. You're just like, oh God, you're being nice to me. What is this? And I think a lot of us aren't used to it, but being in that community of women, they're so like that, and I'm finding it more and more, even with my friends. They're like, oh my God, get it, girl, like, you've just
Yeah.
done an amazing job on that.
Yeah.
Just hype you up, and it's nice to have that affirmation.
Yes. Yes.
Affirmation, which,
Everybody needs a hype team at
yeah,
some point in their probably on a daily basis. You need a hype team for something,
yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
definitely on a weekly basis.
And that's what I love about my sort of work group chat. The team is quite a few males, but we're getting more and more females in the team, and we're just sort of cheering each other
Yeah.
on. But then they've started doing it as well, and it's so nice. And it has sort of changed the environment from when I first joined. I was like, I'm getting you all in a group chat, and we're all over the place. Some of us are in Amsterdam and
Sure.
UK, but we're all in different locations. So let's stay in contact
Yeah.
and cheer people on.
Absolutely.
Get those emojis going. Fire.
So I guess that maybe to kind of wrap things up, I mean, if someone wants to learn more about I want to just say forward because I know that's the
Yeah,
acronym you guys
FWD,
use,
yeah.
but the Forum for Women in Data Centers, what's the best way for them to learn more about it?
So it's on LinkedIn. There is a group which people can post in, but we're also starting to really push the page that people can follow, which is where it's sort of a company page that will have updates from us about upcoming events. And we're trying to do a bit of an interview series. So we're slowly integrating that, just finding our rhythm a bit more online at the moment.
Yeah.
We have events coming up. We try to do them at trade shows, like you said, but we also try to do them quarterly or seasonally.
Okay.
Whichever, whenever. So minimum for a year, but then we try to do it around events like Data Center World. So we try to do a little coffee morning there,
Yeah.
or coffee afternoon there, just so people can start their day with the hype team, and then they start
Exactly.
marching around these events that are just typically quite strong male attendance.
So I will tell you the buttons that you gave out at the coffee morning in Cannes.
Yeah.
On my flight back to London, I don't tend to talk to my seatmates on an airplane. I just like my own little space.
I'm asked. So
Exactly,
Noise
exactly. But in
cancellation.
this case, the three of us just happened to be chatting with each other. And at the end of the flight, the woman sitting next to me put her coat on and she had one of the buttons. And I was like, were you at the coffee morning? So was I.
My gosh.
And we
I
connected on
love
LinkedIn
that.
and made a little post coffee morning connection. So
Amazing. Yeah, I've got mine on my lanyard at work.
there you go.
just feel so proud wearing it. And yeah, you don't realize that little symbol.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. Oh, I'm buzzed now.
Yeah,
I'll go
good.
straight back to tell the girls.
Good. Well, Libby, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been great chatting with you. We always have a good time talking together, but I appreciate you sharing your thoughts on doing something that's really important in the industry, which is, building some community for women.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I just like a wider thank you to all the women that I've connected with who have helped me get to where I am. So I wouldn't be here without the connections that I've made, the suggestions they've made for me, and the introductions. Wider, general, just thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Critical Careers. A special thank you to our sponsor, CBRE, for their support in helping us share the stories of the people shaping the future of digital infrastructure. To learn more about CBRE, visit www.cbre.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to like, share, and follow the podcast. Thanks for listening.